This is Inspiring Women. I'm Laurie McGraw. Please do subscribe because this week and every week I'm speaking with amazing women who are making a tremendous impact on this world. And this week I'm speaking with 3 female CEOs and founders. They're coming out of the Health incubator. So that includes Raelyn Wilson. She's from Pure Supply. Molly Moore. She's building Bramble Health. And we also have Leigh McCormack, who's building Platypus. These 3 women are doing the hard thing about hard things. And when you are a female CEO and founder, that means one of those hard things is funding 2.4%. That's all the money that there is that is going to female CEOs and founders. And while that is hard, they're also doing other incredible things like learning that they actually can be confident. They can go out and do things that surprise themselves. They'll tell you about that. And they'll also tell you about the concept of equanimity, how to be calm when it's nothing but tremendous activity and a whole lot of chaos, but they're doing it. So tune in every week to Inspiring Women. But now let's hear from Molly, Raelyn, and Leigh. This is Inspiring Women, and I am Laurie McGraw, and today I am speaking from Nashville, Tennessee, where I am at the Vive conference, and amazingly, I have this opportunity to speak with 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 female founders and CEOs of young startup companies. We're going to hear about them. They are all coming out of the Health Venture Studio, so they have the intersection of healthcare and blockchain in common, and the fact that they are female founders and CEOs. So I'm talking to Molly Moore. She is the founder and CEO of Bramble Health, which is a provider services marketplace, a rational marketplace built on a blockchain technology. I'm talking to Leigh McCormack. She is the CEO and founder of Platypus. She spent 10 years in predictive analytics at a health plan, but now she works with data scientists. She says there's not a lot of data scientists here at this Vive conference. And I'm also speaking with Raelyn Wilson. She's the CEO and co-founder of Pure Supply. She says there's no women in supply chain, but so she may not be she may be the first, she will not be the last, but she is working on this amazing company. And these 3 women are tired. They have been pitching all day long. I believe they might have cocktails coming on the way, but Molly and Leigh and Raelyn, thank you so much for being on Inspiring Women.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Where are the cocktails? Molly, that's what I want to know first. But tell me, before we get into that, because this could get a little giddy, so Bramble Health, tell us a little bit about Bramble Health.
So Bramble Health was a company that I put together to solve sort of my own problem. I've built networks for about 15 years in healthcare over the span of my 25-year career. And there is not a good solution to build smart networks, meaning knowing what you're going to pay or see the quality before you go in and actually extend a contract between a provider and a payer. The emergence of value-based care models and accountable care organizations, it's pretty imperative that you understand what the costs are going to be of that downstream care and that you're able to execute agreements between primary care providers who are referring the care and specialists that are delivering the downstream care. And so I will be using cost and quality transparent information and a contract that sits underneath that to hopefully build smart networks nationwide and little accountable communities of care, or work to make advanced primary care providers more successful in those value-based arrangements.
Molly, there are a lot of companies that have come and gone that have been trying to work on marketplaces. And so what was important about the blockchain for you in terms of doing? Was it the technology that was exciting, or was it the problem? Are you seeing it in a different way?
So the blockchain for me is about being part of a bigger ecosystem that's coming. Mm-hmm. So right now, healthcare and blockchain they're still trying to find ways to leverage distributed ledger technology, smart contracts, et cetera. And the underlying tech that's actually sits under Bramble is the ability to transact healthcare using smart contracts. Mm-hmm. And today, nobody cares about that. That's not how we transact healthcare. I care about it, but probably not a lot of other people. That's not how we transact healthcare, but it might be in the future. Mm-hmm. And if we don't start building for the future today, then it's it's going to be hard for us to hurry up and get there when the rest of the industry has figured out ways to take advantage of blockchain. It's just healthcare was a long way behind cloud. I think they'll be a long way behind blockchain. I'm not building for a use case for blockchain. I'm building a business that holds value in and of itself. But if I can actually leverage the most efficient technology, and that happens to be blockchain, I'm going to do it.
Well, I'm going to want to ask a couple questions about blockchain because there has been some debate as to whether it's ready for healthcare, and all three of you are investing in it and spending considerable time, and you've got quite a bit of experience between the three of you. Leigh, for your company Platypus, so you are just somebody who knows a lot about health plans, and now you're working with data scientists and crowdsourcing solutions. So tell us a little bit about Platypus.
Sure. So I am a data scientist myself by training, and I have spent years sort of in the inefficiencies of data science, and not specific to healthcare, but healthcare is certainly falling victim to those inefficiencies. And we as a healthcare ecosystem, we want AI and machine learning and data science to make every part of our labs more efficient, administrative processes, clinical processes, but yet the underlying foundation of data science and the process itself is inefficient. And so I'm here to solve that problem for enterprise data science organizations to make them really, and I love using this tagline, but help them fail faster and innovate faster. On average, it takes $200,000 in 10 months to build a data science project from design to deployment. And a lot of those fail to deliver value. So we need to learn how to fail faster so that we can succeed faster in data science. And so Platypus is really a marketplace that aims to enable data science organizations the ability to explore and consume what their peer groups have already built, build upon it, share data in the vein of trying to build more equitable data science across healthcare. It's also a collaborative network to bring a data science community that is always looking to solve extremely complex problems and oftentimes finds itself inside an organization just cleaning data, right? Those folks get bored, they leave. A lot of them go outside of healthcare, and then that just kind of just makes the problem even bigger.
When you say data science, are you talking about data analytics and data insights or reporting? Like, what is the sort of like depth and breadth of that, what
It's
data
a great
science
question.
means?
Data science is if you want to think of a big Venn diagram, right? Machine learning and AI sit inside data science. Reporting and basic kind of analyst tasks sit a little bit tangentially to data science. So we're really talking about advanced analytics. But Platypus is not going to be agnostic to just data science. And so how do you allow organizations that do need better reporting, better quality metrics, connect into algorithms to quickly generate that or compare it to their neighbor down the street, right? So that we can start always building better quality algorithms, regardless if they're basic reporting all the way up to your, computer vision and large language models.
Do you expect that you'll also be able to figure out just the complexities of data? There's a lot of bias in the big, large data sets, and certainly with the, generative AI that we're seeing, there's a lot of concern. I have a great deal of concern about the bias that's built into these large data sets that are out there. Is Platypus going to be able to acknowledge, understand bias, or dirty data? Is this bias a new thing in dirty data?
Yeah, so bias really stems from the fact that the underlying data, a machine can only learn from what it sits on top of. And in healthcare, a lot of what we want to be more equitable in terms of data and analytics, we don't supply the machine with the right data, right? So we're not serving up data from underserved populations and vulnerable populations. We're not putting that into the computer for it to crank out the right answer. And so Platypus is meant to be a platform that really encourages all levels of maturity from the data science standpoint, from those who have just reporting, right, and just maybe one or two analysts on their team or nothing at all, to be able to monetize their data and contribute that into the data science world so that everyone's models get better and equity really starts to play a factor when we're talking about data science.
Just awesome to hear that you actually know quite a bit about this. I mean, this is, not just the issue with Platypus is sounding 10 months seems like a long time. I think that sounds like a really short amount of time for these types of complex projects, and certainly the workforce of data analysts and data scientists, they're hard to come by. So I don't care how many tech layoffs are going on, needing those types of highly qualified people. Sounds like Platypus is going to address a lot of problems. Okay, Raelyn, let's hear about you, and let's hear about Pure Supply. You said there's no other women except for you in supply chain. So I just want to like tag you with that.
Thanks. I hope we can edit that part out. Well, I was just challenged in thinking back. Most of my mentors in the healthcare supply chain have been men, and they've helped me get to where I am. But really, Pure Supply exists to connect healthcare systems and their suppliers for a more efficient and resilient supply chain. And, we mentioned that we've all been here pitching our companies all day long. 80% of my pitch, it feels like, is doing supply chain 101, because a lot of people just think of supply chain as this thing that's happening in the background. We don't necessarily understand how it works, but guess what? 3 years ago when the pandemic hit, suddenly it was on the front page of every paper, and we were all hearing about the issues. What's surprising is today, I just talked to a health system last week that said their back orders are actually 30% higher than they were in the peak pandemic. So these, we've moved on, media has moved on, but supply disruption is still impacting all of our health systems, all of the teams, all of the clinicians that are trying to provide care to patients, and they just need the supplies at the right time in the right place.
I don't think I even have heard the word supply chain, I would say for the first 20 years of my healthcare career. But in the past 3 years, supply chain is disruptive everywhere because of the pandemic. And while it might not be talked about as much, it's certainly those issues are still there. But Raelyn, you have over 8 years of supply chain experience before you started Pure Supply. So how did it become this new idea for you? And what drew you to, not just do the work, which you've done at companies like Providence Health System and Valify, but how did you decide that you actually wanted to innovate and start your own company?
Yeah, so at Valify, actually, that was a big launching point for me to be here at Pure Supply. Valify was focused on purchase services and going around talking to health systems about purchase services. And what I noticed was this trend where every health system was like, yes, I would love to talk about purchase services, but I can't. All of our resources are all hands on deck dealing with back orders and these issues caused by supply disruption. And after about 10 of the same conversation, where everyone's doing the same thing in a silo, I kind of took a step back and thought, there's a smarter way to do this. There's a way that we can all solve this problem together. So that's what Pure Supply exists to do, is bring health systems together, connect them with their suppliers, get that bi-directional data flowing so everybody can save time, save money, and pass that savings on to patients.
Well, that is great. And I just also want to say for 3 women who are spending the entire day pitching their companies, you continue to do a great job with it. You really have the enthusiasm, the energy, and it sounds like the smarts and know-how to build some pretty successful companies. I know I'm rooting for you. Let's talk about some of the issues. You're all female founders and you are all CEOs, and that means that you are one of few and less than there should be in the world of innovation. We were just speaking with Mickey Tripathi from ONC, who is a supporter of female founders and innovation and women leaders, which is great to hear. But let's talk about the big issue that's out there. We know that for women who are founding companies, they get 2.4% of the $15 billion perhaps of funding that's gone out there for digital health companies. And that's not a lot of money to do the innovations, particularly in the blockchain space, which we know is a heavy consumer of technology. Molly, how's your funding going?
I'm not experiencing a tremendous amount of pushback, which is great. And I can't figure out if it's because people are just generally friendly and having a nice time at this conference.
They've had a cocktail.
All right, they've had a cocktail.
Or maybe we're all tired.
One of the things that I'm doing in my pitching, and I'm noticing this because the meetings are very short, is that I'm excited about what I'm building. And I'm finding that I'm able to bring people along in that excitement. And I think that's important. The amazing thing, and one of the advantages of, and one of the things I will forever be grateful for, is Hash Health has such an incredible reputation, not only in Nashville where we are here, but nationwide in really bringing thoughtful and thorough products to market. And so the introductions that we have been able to garner and the street cred of Hashed Health, I think has lent itself to potentially being taken more seriously. But honestly, as soon as any one of us three or any of the founders at Hashed Health get to the table, we know our stuff. We have been in the industry. We know what we're doing. We're building thoughtful businesses. This isn't about growth at any cost, which was something we just heard about in a session we all attended. This is about building a sustainable business that's solving a real problem, and these are all pain points that we've all experienced. And so the passion and the thoughtfulness with which we are taking this to market, I think, is actually refreshing for venture capital, fund managers, general partners to hear about. I think we've been very lucky, at least as we've been sharing. It's been a nice reception.
I will just push back a little bit on the luck. I always hear from so many successful women that there's luck involved, and there is. There's no question about it. But in my experience, I will just say the seriousness that you're bringing to the jobs that you're doing and the problems that you're trying to solve comes a lot from the people that you are. So that's kind of incredible too, and I'd put more weight on that. Raelyn, as you look at sort of like the funding rounds that you've been doing or the early stage conversations that you've been having, how have those been going for you?
Our conversations are going pretty well. Peer Supply is actually probably the furthest along of the three of us here. I'm actively raising a seed round. I do have my co-leads identified. Again, I would echo what Molly said. I'm able to, stand on the shoulders of Hashed Health and the relationships that they have, and that's been amazing for us. So I've been pretty well received. I think one of the things I struggle with here is supply chain, as you said, is you haven't heard it mentioned for the last 20 years. So it's not a sexy business, and I'm, educating a lot of the investors and helping them understand where the opportunity is in supply chain and that it really touches everybody. That's been probably the most challenging part of my fundraising effort.
What I would also hope for you is that it also might be a less crowded area to be in, and so maybe you might not have the most competitive conversations out there. Hopefully, you're in an area that you also can stand out even more. Leigh, for you, it just is you're doing your rounds and out there. Maybe there's like a different angle on the same question, though. What are some of the challenges or some of the things that are easier than you thought, perhaps, as you're building Platypus?
Sure. So this is my first kind of go round when it comes to fundraising, and I'm probably the behind in terms of where I sit in my fundraising round. And I have maybe the opposite problem of Raelyn. AI is a very sexy area to be in, and a lot of investors want some sort of AI inside their portfolio. And so the conversations have gone really well because everybody wants to hear about AI. And I think we bring a different flavor in that we're really aiming to improve the process of AI, not just provide another AI point solution, right? And no diss to all the great organizations here that are providing point solutions, but we want to be a partner in improving the ecosystem as it pertains to AI. And I will say from a fundraising perspective, I've really valued having two amazing women beside me. I do not have a business background, so again, data science and really a dorky math background. But I've got Molly, who's got this just amazing knowledge base that you can tap, and then Raelyn, who's like a step or two ahead in terms of the process, and so I'm learning a lot from them. And I think that's really the beauty of the hashed model as well, is that we're all sharing what works, what doesn't work, who do you know, how can you make this connection, and giving words of encouragement. Either you've been there or you're about to go through it, and then providing that. And so I think that's really, really valuable. And being at this event and we're all together. So we also have three other counterparts that aren't in this room, and I think that sharing in that is really special for us as companies that are all fundraising.
Well, it also sounds like just the environment that you've got, where you've got a cohort of other people who are doing similar things, different businesses, and you're all mentioning that that's important to you. Being a CEO, though, the hard thing about hard things is that is a hard and lonely and tough job. So maybe for each of you, maybe Leigh, we'll just start with you. So what is the hardest thing about building a company and being a CEO that you've experienced so far?
I think it's de-risking it in your own mind and having the confidence to kind of approach that risk. I think it's really sad, but certainly true that women have a confidence problem when you walk into a room that's really male-dominated. I mean, in my field, very male-dominated, and now I'm walking into that again, and so there's always this confidence factor. It is always nice to be sitting across from a VC who's a woman, right? It makes that conversation a lot easier because I feel like you can relate. But I feel my biggest challenge at this point is de-risking what I'm doing by I know I have the confidence, I know I have the skill set, right? I've done this. I've lived and breathed the problem and built solutions inside organizations already. So that shouldn't be a confidence buster, it should be a booster, but I think we always have to kind of de-risk what we're out there selling and build that confidence within ourselves.
Okay, so de-risking is a really important challenge and one that you're facing. Raelyn, hardest thing so far for you?
Oh gosh, I would definitely relate to the loneliness factor. I remember the early days when, good things would happen. I would have a high, and then scary things would happen. I'd have a very low. Mm-hmm. So my theme going into 2023 was, I think they call it equanimity, where I'm just this little floating boat out in the ocean and waves are going to come and I just try and roll with it all. And I try and stay as calm as possible and I keep my emotions pretty tight and I just know there's going to be a tomorrow. And that, honestly, that change in my mindset, knowing that good things are going to happen, bad things are going to happen, and I just have to keep going, that's really helped me this year.
Equanimity?
Equanimity.
I haven't heard
Word
of that.
of the day.
I am using it. I am digging that. Molly, for you, hardest thing you've hardest thing that you are facing as a CEO.
Childbirth is the hardest thing I've accomplished. Just gonna say that.
Congratulations on that one.
Thanks. It's a while ago. It was the hardest thing for sure. The hardest thing that I'm working through now, I think, is knowing having that sort of excited, scared mindset all the time. Like, I'm really excited for the future and what things can be. And I'm a little bit scared about, sort of delivering on all the things that I have in my mind, that I want this company to be. And then the idea that I have to back that out and go like, okay, one day at a time. First you need to do this, and then you need to do this, and then you need to do this. And like, this company will be this amazing platform, and have all sorts of tools and add value. And I can see, how it grows and becomes this thing. But it is kind of like a child where you have to sort of rear it one day at a time and, keep it from killing itself and, things like that. That's the hardest thing for me is like, I want to like put my foot on the gas and go. But I really do need to take one day at a time because you have to watch burn and your bottom line and all this kind of stuff. So, it's been tough, in doing that. But again, we have this kind of awesome built-in support system of people who are in, similar stages of their company. We're not all selling to the same customer. We're not even all in the same industry, but we do have this support system. And I have other women leaders who I really, meet with, am challenged by, have you thought about this? And this is a good coaching resource and things like that. So we have gotten a lot of support. But yeah, I think my mentality is put your foot on the gas, but it's like, hey, back up and be methodical.
Give
about
yourself
how you do
some
this.
space and also, some room to breathe a little bit. I think that's not just, interesting commentary. It's really great advice for others. I just want to talk about, so those are some of the hardest things. But, and Leigh, you talked about confidence, and women often talk about confidence as one of those things that is a challenge for them personally at any stage of their career. I'd love to know for each of you, and I'm sort of like, Molly, on you about the luck thing, which I think is less that from so many. But, what has been like an experience where you surprised yourself, where you're like, wow, I didn't know I was as good as that as I actually am, or something that you've discovered about yourself, not necessarily a superpower, but where just you feel like, I've got this, and you didn't know you had it last year. Leigh, what about you?
So I'm a nervous Nelly when it comes to pitching. I talk really fast. It's my tell. I know when I'm doing it. And so a lot of the work that I've been doing is to slow myself down, right? To have a better conversation. You don't have to say as much to say as much, right? And so It was just the other day, I was on the phone with a VC, and the conversation was going so good. And the ultimate answer was, we're too early for that VC. I left that call and I was so giddy. I was like, they just told me no. And I'm so giddy because I slowed down and I felt great on that call, right? I had made an accomplishment that I knew I was coming to Vive, and I knew I had to take that with me, and so it was like a win. And my husband, who's nowhere near healthcare or in the entrepreneurial world, he's like, but he told you no. And I was like, well, yeah, but it was still a good no, and I know that I earned, whatever that was. Like I didn't feel nervous. I didn't walk away going, I could have done more.
Yeah.
It just wasn't a good fit, and I didn't walk away knowing that it could have been a good fit, and I just didn't do my part. So that was a win for me.
Yeah, not a no and go away, but
Yep.
a no and come back
That's
at
right.
some other time. That sounds like a great one. Raelyn, what about you?
I don't know if this is a great answer to your question, but it's what came to my mind. I think you mentioned this. I've been at this almost 9 months or around there.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first started, so I want to echo what Leigh said. I'm a first-time CEO, first-time founder. So I struggled with acclimating to the fundraising environment and having those conversations and feeling valid in front of investors. Like, how did I get here? Am I really qualified? Do they really want to hear what I have to say? And it's been surprising to see the way I've evolved and the relationships that I've established just between the health conference in Las Vegas a few months ago and here. I'm starting to see people and they want updates on Peer Supply, and like that imposter syndrome in a way has gone away over time, and I've gotten more comfortable getting no's, and it doesn't shatter my confidence, and I just move on and I learn from it and I ask for feedback right there in that moment. So that's been a lot of personal growth for me, but I can tell that I was so uncomfortable at the beginning, and I'm feeling more and more in my skin in this environment.
It feels so good to start to get the skills where you're just like, okay, I know what I'm doing. Okay, that I'm not. I might be new, but I'm not not experienced. It's a great feeling. I know what that feeling feels like, and it's getting comfortable. Molly, what about you? I'm still waiting for the cocktails, Molly. And
I
I'm
know,
just like,
I keep pinging Les.
what is happening
I
here?
just want you all to know I'm working on it as much as I can and not disrupting the whole podcast. That will be my accomplishment.
That will be an amazing accomplishment. Maybe almost as much as childbirth. I'm not certain. Maybe.
I think I left a great company and a great job, and it was hard for me because I knew that I could do this, and I did it. Like I came over, and that to me was like I left a job that I was nailing every day. I felt confident in. I was well compensated. I was learning new things. I was growing my skills. Like I was happy. Hi, Jim. That was my boss in the last job. He was such a nice man. But I was like, I can do this. Like, I can be a CEO. Like, come on, Molly. Like, leave the safe thing and do the thing that you know you can do and that could potentially bring, glory and wine and whatever. What are the things that you get when you're like a warrior in Greece and you come home and like there is glory at the end of being a CEO, but there is also loneliness and hardship and all sorts of things like that. And so it was really scary. And this is my second company. I've done fundraising before. It's not fun. It's a lot of hard work, and you can't take your foot off the gas during this process. And I didn't know if I was ready for that. And I got here, and I've been here for a couple of months, and it's like, okay, you were ready for that. Like the gut, like the idea that I could continue to listen to my gut and that it would continue to be right. That was a big win. And we do have a lot of support, but that was a big win.
So you need the big wins because equanimity. I should have written no.
God, I hope I got that word right.
Equanimity. So in terms of like the big highs and the big lows, there's nothing but variety in terms of what you're doing as CEOs. On Inspiring Women, again, you are fantastic CEOs already, and you are inspiring others. And it is just absolutely true. There are not enough female CEOs and founders that are out there. You're doing it, and you're an inspiration to others. So as we close out here on Inspiring Women, I would just love for each of you to share your advice to other women who are out there who want to be you.
Okay, I'm going first. You can do it. You know your business. You know how to build a business. You've probably been a part of a business, maybe had a front row seat to how people build businesses. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to check all the boxes. Men don't check all the boxes. Come on. It doesn't all have to be figured out. It doesn't all have to be perfect. And just go for it. Like, if you have the support and you can do it, and you can make that work for your life, where you can just really focus on something and focus on it hard, like, go for it. I think women are scared off because they don't have a perfect idea, or if it's not all the way vetted. Like, I had to put up a website that does not look great, and I was like, whatever, I gotta have it up. Like, you can do it. Like, I promise, this is how men leave the house every day. And I would just, if you have the opportunity to take a leap, or you have an idea and you want to pursue it, like go for it. There are hundreds and thousands of women that are women CEOs that will support you. There are resources and podcasts and just really wonderful, positive partners at venture capital firms that will sit with you. Got a text message yesterday with somebody that was like, hey, I love this. You're inspiring. And I was like, this is the best community. And so if you're on the fence, or you don't feel confident taking the leap, like, there is a basket of women here to catch you.
Awesome. Leigh?
So along the same lines of what Molly just said, I have 3 kids. There's a little bit of that de-risking where I'm like, am I doing the right thing for my family? And you can have it all, right? And I'm gonna quote something. I think it's from Sex and the City, but so don't. It's not a professional quotation or anything of relevance. But it's, you can have it all. Just to stop expecting it to look perfect, right? And I think as women, we always think we have to look perfect, be perfect, be that image of everything for everyone, and let that go, and just do it. You can't have it all. Trust me, like, my kids, at times I'm like, I'm doing too much and taking too much time away from them, but I get to look at them and say, Mom's building something awesome. And that's really special for my daughter, because I don't want her to have to sit, not in your podcast room, I hope she's on your podcast one day, but I don't want her to have to sit and hear 2.4%, right? She shouldn't have to do that. And we have to be that generation that prevents that generation from having to hear that statistic. And so, again, stop thinking about what perfect means, and go have it all. Do what you need to do, because I think your kids and your life and your partner or whomever is going to really appreciate you, because you're the best you can be when you're pursuing something you love and something you believe in.
Awesome. Raelyn?
Gosh, I think...
Raelyn's wondering, how do I top that? That was so awesome.
Yeah, exactly. This will just get edited out, I'm sure. I think my advice is get out of your head. If anybody relates to me, right? I overthink everything. Get out of your head and just ask people. Just talk about it, put it out into the universe. It is shocking. You know, women, men, anybody you reach out to, they want to help. It's surprising. You know, especially if you're someone like me. I'm in my early 30s. This is a big risk for me. This is a big challenge for me. I'm growing every day. I'm uncomfortable and I'm scared still. But I have a great network of people who, some have years more experience, some are less experienced, but they're experts in something. And just reach out, have those conversations. Those people will guide you, and you're going to learn something from every one of those. And that's made a big difference for me.
Yeah, well, it really sounds like the community that's out there that is important to each of you, but you are all inspiring. This has been a great conversation, and I really want to thank Health and Les Wilkinson for introducing me to all 3 of you. I'm Laurie McGraw. I've been speaking with Molly Moore of Bramble Health, Leigh McCormack of Platypus, and Raelyn Wilson of Pure Supply. Thank you so much, all of you, for being on Inspiring Women.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura.
Thank you.
Time for a cocktail.
This has been an episode of Inspiring Women with Laurie McGraw. Please subscribe, rate, and review. We are produced by Kate Cruz at Executive Podcast Solutions. More episodes can be found on inspiringwomen.show. I am Laurie McGraw, and thank you for listening.